It was Easter evening, and two of the disciples were on their way to Emmaus. And while they were walking along the road, a stranger joined them. He asked them what it was that they were talking about. They said, "Are you the only fool in town that hasn't heard the news?" And they told him about the crucifixion of Jesus. And they said, "Furthermore, this morning, some women went to the tomb and they found that he was not there, and the news that he had risen from the dead." The stranger looked at him and said, "Oh, you slow of head and heart, do you not understand that these things must take place?" And with that, he mined the Hebrew scriptures and pointed out to them why all these things must happen. And when they had reached their destination, and it appeared that the stranger was going on ahead of them, they entreated him to stay for dinner. And while they were at table, he took the bread, blessed it, and broke it. And their eyes were open. And they realized that they were in the presence of the risen Christ. And at that moment, he disappeared from their sight. Did not our hearts burn as he was opening the scriptures to us on the road? And now he has revealed himself to us in the breaking of bread. This is a hard story to read, for it has always been for me a story of the Eucharist, of the meal, where Christ makes himself truly present in our midst, in, with, and under the forms of bread and wine. He comes in body and blood, God infleshed into our midst. And yet, today, we are unable to gather as communities of faith to share the story and to eat and drink together. We find ourselves in the midst of a Eucharistic fast, and we are hungry. This past week, I attended another kind of Eucharistic meal. It was Thursday afternoon, and the guests came by the hundreds, all holding appropriate social distancing. But they were there. They came hungry. Oh, there were those who would have showed up regardless of what was going on in the world just because there was free food. But there were so many, so many, hiding behind their masks. The pain, the agony that they had to go through to put their pride beside themselves and to come and beg for food. These were people who had never been in this situation before. You could see the fear in their eyes, the hopelessness and helplessness of the situation. They were hungry. And those who served that day were in no better shape than those who had come to be fed. They too were without jobs, without income, wondering if their businesses were going to be there when this is all over. And yet they came to serve, that others might eat. And there on the street was also the crucified and risen Christ, in, with, and under the forms of military rations, a meager meal. But as we were reminded by that story of that little boy who came with a few fish and a couple loaves of bread, in Christ it will be enough to feed and sustain. Where have we seen the Eucharistic Christ these days? Where has Christ appeared to us in word and bread? What forms did he show up in? What people? What greetings? What unexpected gifts spoke to us of hope that calmed our fears and gave us new life? The word Eucharist means thanksgiving. And I invite you during these times to ponder those morsel moments, for they will be what sustains us. To take time and give thanks, and to recognize the one who has come in the breaking of bread and the gift of life, even in the midst of our hungers. We come to the hungry feast, hungry for a world of peace, to hungry hearts unsatisfied. The love of God is not denied. We come to the hungry feast. We come to the hungry feast, hungry for a world release from hungry folks of every kind, the poor in body, poor in mind. We come to the hungry feast. We come to the hungry feast, hungry that the hunger cease. And knowing though we eat